Welcome back, guys. Today we're going to be learning real natural English. And honestly, the best way to learn is to just live it. So a while back, I found myself in Hong Kong. No plan, no map, just me, a camera, and a very empty stomach. And what happened was actually one of the best days I have had in a long time. So let me tell you about it. The first place I ended up was the Star Ferry Terminal. This was in an area called Tsim Sha Tsui. Tsim Sha Tsui. Yeah, I am not going to pretend I said that correctly the first time. It took me a few tries. But this spot is one of the most famous in all of Hong Kong. And what I decided to do was take the Star Ferry across Victoria Harbor. The harbor. A harbor is like a body of water where boats and ships can dock. So Victoria Harbor was right there in front of me. And across the water I could already see Hong Kong Island, the skyline just sitting there like it knew it was famous. A skyline is what you see when you look at a city from far away, and all the buildings line up together against the sky. And Hong Kong's skyline is genuinely one of the most recognizable in the entire world. The Star Ferry itself has been running since 1888, over 100 years, and it still runs today like nothing happened. The ticket costs almost nothing, just a few Hong Kong dollars. It is probably the best deal in the whole city, honestly. So I got on, found a spot right by the side railing, and just stood there while the wind came off the water and the buildings across the harbor kept getting bigger and bigger as we got closer. There was a moment where I just stopped talking to myself in my head and just looked. It was that kind of view. We docked on the Hong Kong Island side. Docked means the boat connected to the land and stopped, and I stepped off into an area called Central. Central is basically the business heart of Hong Kong. And I felt that the second I walked out, everyone around me was moving fast, like seriously fast. I was walking at what I thought was a normal speed, and people were just passing me like I was standing still. Very humbling. The streets in Central were interesting because some of them were really narrow. Narrow means not wide. And then you turned one corner, and suddenly there was this massive wide road with enormous buildings on both sides. That contrast really got me. Contrast means the difference between two things. Old, narrow streets sitting right next to massive modern towers. That mix is Hong Kong. One of the first places I walked into was Central Market. They had recently renovated the building. Renovated means they fixed it up and made it look new again. The building was old, but inside they had added new shops and food stalls. A food stall is a small stand or booth where someone sells food. So it was this interesting mix. Old shell, new stuff inside. And the smell when I walked in was incredible. Bakery on one side, coffee on the other. Very dangerous combination if you're trying to save money. What I noticed was that they kept the original tiles on the floor. Tiles are the flat pieces that cover a floor. These ones were from the original building, and they just kept them there as part of the history. I really like that. When a city holds onto pieces of its past while still moving forward, it feels like the place actually has a soul. I got a Hong Kong milk tea from one of the stalls. Now this is not your regular milk tea. It is not bubble tea either. It is made with very strong black tea, and then they mix in evaporated milk. Evaporated milk is a canned milk that is thicker and creamier than regular milk, and the result is this rich, smooth, strong tea that is honestly one of my favorite drinks in all of Asia. I drank it while walking around, and I finished it way too fast. That was my fault entirely. After Central Market, I started heading up. And when I say up, I mean literally up. Because Hong Kong is built on hills, steep hills. Steep means the angle is very sharp, almost like going straight up. My legs had absolutely no idea what was coming, and neither did I. But luckily there was a solution. The mid-levels escalator. This thing is the longest outdoor covered escalator system in the entire world. I will say that again, because it deserves it. The longest outdoor covered escalator system in the entire world. Over 800 meters. It goes from the bottom near Central all the way up into a neighborhood called mid-levels. Mid-levels is a residential area on the hill. Residential means people actually live there. It is not offices and banks. It is homes and apartments. Here is the thing I found interesting about this escalator. In the morning it goes down, because people are coming down from the hill to go to work. Then, at 10 inches the morning, they switch the direction and it goes up for the rest of the day. The direction changes based on the time. I genuinely stood there for a moment thinking about who came up with that idea, because it is so simple and so smart. Clever is the word. Clever means smart and creative at the same time. Riding up, I could see restaurants and cafes on both sides. People were sitting outside with their food, just watching everyone go past on the escalator. It felt a little bit like being on a very slow-moving parade float. I got off in an area called Soho at the top. Soho is known for its restaurants and nightlife. Nightlife means the things you can do at night, like bars, cafes, and restaurants that stay open late. During the day, it was calm, but you could feel it was a place that really woke up after dark. On one of the side streets, I came across a wet market. A wet market is a market that sells fresh food, fresh meat, fresh fish, fresh vegetables. It is called a wet market because of the water they use to keep everything fresh and clean. You find them all over Hong Kong. The produce looked incredible. Produce means fresh fruits and vegetables. There were mangoes piled up, leafy greens, things I had never seen before and could not name, just everywhere. A very beautiful mess. From Soho, I made my way to Victoria Peak. The Peak. This is the highest point on Hong Kong Island, and from up there, you can see the entire city spread out below you. The harbor, Kowloon across the water, the smaller islands in the distance. Everything at once. To get there, I took the Peak tram. A tram is a vehicle that runs on tracks above ground, not underground like a subway. And this particular tram goes up the side of a mountain on a very steep track. When it started moving, I immediately felt the angle. It was sharp. You were practically leaning back in your seat just because of how steep the track was going up. It felt a little disorienting at first. Disorienting means you feel confused about which direction is which or where your balance is. And the buildings outside the window looked like they were tilting sideways. Tilting means leaning to one side. My brain knew everything was completely fine. My stomach was not so sure. But then I got to the top, and I forgot about all of that immediately. The view was one of the best I have ever seen in my life. The whole harbor right there. Every building. The water. Kowloon across from me. It was a little hazy that day. Hazy means the air has a slight blur to it, kind of like a lighter version of smoggy. But even with the haze, it was stunning. Stunning means so beautiful it almost stops you in your tracks. I stood there for longer than I probably needed to. Completely worth it. Worth it means the effort and cost were justified by what you experienced. Eventually, I headed back down because I had one more place I wanted to see before the day ended. Temple Street Night Market. A night market is a market that opens in the evening and runs late into the night. And Temple Street is one of the most famous ones in Hong Kong. By the time I got there, the whole street was buzzing. Buzzing means full of energy and life. Food stalls were set up everywhere. People were selling clothes and watches and souvenirs. A souvenir is a small item you buy to remember a place. And along the sides there were fortune tellers sitting at little tables. A fortune teller is someone who claims to know what will happen in your future. You sit down, they look at your hand or some cards or whatever they use, and they tell you about your life. I did not sit down because honestly, I was not sure I was ready to hear what they had to say. Maybe another time. What I did do was get curry fish balls. This is probably the most classic Hong Kong street food that exists. Fish balls are small round balls made from fish paste. Paste is what you get when you grind something into a smooth, thick mixture. They were sitting in this warm curry sauce. Curry is a sauce made from spices, and it can be spicy or mild. The Hong Kong version was not super spicy, but it was incredibly flavorful. Flavorful means packed with taste. They handed them to me on a stick, a skewer, and I just stood there on the street eating them. The curry was warm and rich, and the fish balls had this soft, bouncy texture. Texture is how something feels when you eat it. Bouncy sounds like a strange word to describe food, but there is really no better word. Slightly springy, very satisfying. Then I spotted egg waffles at a nearby stall, and that was it. My wallet had no chance. Egg waffles are one of the most iconic Hong Kong snacks. Iconic means so well known that it has come to represent a whole place or culture. They were made from a batter cooked in a special mold that gave them this shape of little connected bubbles all stuck together. A mold is a shaped container that gives food its form while it cooks. Crispy on the outside, soft in the middle, slightly sweet. I walked and ate at the same time and finished the whole thing without even realizing. That is how good it was. By the time I finished eating, the lights across the whole market were fully on and everything glowed. Glowed means gave off this warm, soft light. The signs, the food stalls, the little hanging lights above the street. And there were so many more people there than when I first arrived. The night market had completely come alive. Come alive means become full of energy and activity. It felt like an entirely different place compared to just an hour earlier. Louder, brighter, busier. The best version of itself. Walking back through the streets that night, I kept thinking about what makes Hong Kong so hard to put into words. It is unique. Unique means one of a kind. There is genuinely nowhere else quite like it. It has this mix of East and West everywhere you look. East meaning deeply Chinese culture, and West meaning British and European influence that soaked into the city over more than 150 years. Hong Kong was a British colony for all that time. A colony is when one country controls another territory, and that history left its mark on everything. The architecture, the street names, the legal system, the double-decker buses going down streets lined with Chinese characters on every sign. Walking down one block, I heard Cantonese, then English, then Mandarin. Cantonese is the main language spoken in Hong Kong. It is different from Mandarin, which is the main language of mainland China. Both are Chinese languages, but they sound very different from each other. Kind of like how British English and Australian English are both English, but they have their own rhythm and their own words. And the food. I have to come back to the food, because Hong Kong's food culture is something else entirely. In one single day, I had Hong Kong milk tea, walked through a wet market, ate curry fish balls standing on a street, and finished with egg waffles while the night market lights were coming on around me. Every single thing was world class. World class means one of the best in the world, and none of it cost very much. That combination is rare. By the end of that day, my feet were absolutely finished. Done. Completely done. The Star Ferry, Central Market, the Mid-Levels Escalator, Soho, Victoria Peak, Temple Street. All in one day. I went back to wherever I was staying and sat down and did not move for a very long time. But it was worth every single step. Hong Kong surprised me more than I expected it to. Even knowing it was going to be good, being there in person hit differently. Hit differently means the experience felt stronger and more real than anything you could have imagined before arriving. And that is really the whole point of what we do here. You did not just sit and study grammar today. You went somewhere. You heard real words used in real situations. Harbor, renovated, contrast, residential, iconic, disorienting, texture, unique, fascinating, all real, all useful, all the kind of English that actually helps you understand the world around you. Keep watching, keep listening, and you will get there, I promise. Bye, guys.